Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We were discussing the different theories which were there in respect to the municipal law and international law, as we all know, different approaches as well. Right now we'll head on to the concept of state practices which are prevalent in different states, and how the you know this if the delegation theory works, if the transformation theory works in states, or the automatic incorporation theory works, right? So first we will start with the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom there are basically two or three major judgments, right? One is the West Rand gold mining versus King case, right? Then is the Trentex Trading Corporation versus Central Bank of Nigeria case, right? In the West Rand gold mining case, uh, the point to be noted is that Lord Alverstone was the proponent of this case, and this case compelled Hughes Cogents. What was Hughes Cogents? Tell in the comment. And the major contention of the case came in that whenever there is an international law, the transformation theory, I beg your pardon, transformation theory will be the theory which will come into play, right? And the same was upheld in R versus Jones case as well, right? What was the transformation theory? Transformation theory was here: unless promises are not transferred into command, IL can have no impact. That means you have to start with incorporating it through domestic law, right? And in doctrine of incorporation the thing is totally different, right? It automatically incorporates, right? That observation was sent by Lord Denning in Trentex Trading Corporation versus Central Bank of Nigeria case, right? And then we'll see the observation of the United States of America. According to them, they are the greatest country in the world, and they keep on saying that make America great again. So if they are great or not, we have to check, right? So in this particular observation, the division comes into self-executing and non-self-executing, right? Self-executing is exactly automatic incorporation theory, right? Treaties which deal with universal norms or human rights, right, should be automatically incorporated. And there are certain non-self-executing as well, which are if any treaty is not enabled by domestic legislation, right? If it has to be enabled by a domestic legislation. That is what the Kavi is trying to say here. It has to be incorporated through domestic legislation, right? Next, the case which comes into play is Medellin versus Texas. Medellin versus Texas. Uh, in this, the UN Charter or state ICJ are not self-executing in nature, right? So the observation was that only. And in Booz versus Barry, right, international law is subject to American Constitution. That is the scene. These are certain previous year questions, right? Explain different theories between international law and municipal law. Explain the state practices relating to observing international law with the municipal law, right? Then in the Rand Gold case, right? Treaties will not bind until there is statute for the same. That is basically the transformation theory. The treaty has to transform into a domestic legislation. That's what the author is trying to say. Then, in India, the concept is pretty vast, pretty wide, right? Uh, so, under Article 51C, international law and treaty obligations are mentioned, because under Article 38(1)(a), the obligations are given in. Now you have to repeat what is given in Article 31(a) in comments. Right. We have to read this article with. We have to read it with Article 253, legislation for giving effect to international agreements, and that is to be reviewed eventually, because the what is the concept of list 14 entity 10 is that through three different lists we have differential things, which are union list, concurrent list and state list, राइट जो यूनियन लिस्ट में होंगे वो उस पर लॉज सिर्फ यूनियन बना सकती है, कंकरेंट में स्टेट और यूनियन दोनों बना सकती हैं, एंड स्टेट के सिर्फ स्टेट ही बना सकते हैं. ठीक है. नाउ conclusion after reading was what? Importance is given to international law. To make international law municipal law, Parliament can't make law to enforce international agreements. Through transformation theory, India can implement international law. Understood? Right. Transformation theory is the key. Transformation theory is the key. Right. The law will be made through list 1, entry number 14, which is under the 7th schedule of Constitution of India. I'll tell this about in the constitution classes as well. We have three important cases: Magan Bhai Ishwar Patel versus Union of India, MS Entertainment Network versus Super Cassette Industries Limited. It is basically an IPR case though. IPR. ROI, Republic of Italy versus UOI. Right, these are the three cases. In Magan Bhai Ishwar Bhai Patel versus Union of India, the things which were stated were of utmost importance because there were no case in respect to the same in the initial parts. So Union Executive can enter into a treaty. Union Executive can enter into a treaty with any foreign nation. Okay, but that entered treaty be directly applied to the citizens or not is the question. Making a law through the treaty is necessary when treaty or agreement operates to restrict the rights of citizens, or modify the domestic law of the states. फिर 4 decades बाद, after 4 decades, the case came of MS Entertainment Super Cassettes Limited. It sought to outline the role of international law in the domestic legal sphere, stated that if municipal law is silent on certain aspects, then international law can be seen to fill the gaps. Right? The 6 roles were given. 6 different roles were given. Right? Then the case came of Republic of Italy versus Union of India. I hope you know the concept of nautical miles, etc. I'll of course tell you in the further classes. Right? To certain nautical miles, there are straight waters. Then there are high seas or international seas. Right? तो स्टेट वाटर्स पे 2 लोगों को गोली मार दी थी. ठीक है, नेवी गार्ड्स ने, और वो थे इटली के, ठीक है। तो बात ये हुई, इफ द कन्वेंशन इज ratified then municipal law should be construed in harmony with the convention. Gaps in law should be filled with international law if there are any इन म्यूनिसिपल लॉ। वो ये गैप के फिल करने की बात थी यहाँ पे इस ट्रीटी के लिए यूएन की ट्रीटीज इन्वॉल्व होती थी, लेकिन कुछ कुछ लॉज में गैप जब रहते हैं तो आप इंटरनेशनल लॉ को भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं एक ट्रीटी ऑब्लिगेशन बनाने में, राइट। द इंडियन स्टेट प्रैक्टिस फ्रॉम द अबव केस लॉज, द फॉलोइंग पॉइंट्स कैन बी अराइव्ड एट, which are there should be an atmosphere within the country to respect both international law and treaty obligations. International law, if it violates either the constitution or ML, will fail. That is the point. If ML is silent on particular issue, then we need to borrow from international law. However, precautions should be exercised that it does not violate constitution or any municipal law. मतलब यार बात यही कहना चाह रहा है कवि इसमें कि एमएल साइलेंट है तो हमें इंटरनेशनल लॉ यूज़ करना है, सीधी बात, राइट। इवन दो द यूनियन एग्जीक्यूटिव हैज एग्जीक्यूटिव कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पावर to enter and legislate upon treaty with foreign national, it would require municipal law mandatorily if it restricts the right of citizens of the citizens or modify the domestic or municipal law. Straight practice or relationship between international law and municipal law is essentially the same in UK, US, India, right? Primacy is given to domestic or municipal law, ध्यान रखिएगा। सो एक डाउट था, डाउट क्लियर कर रहा हूँ मैं। कैन वी से GPL टेकन एज सोर्स एज आर्टिकल 38 ICJ आर नथिंग बट ह्यूज कोजेंस, और आर्टिकल 38 contains both ह्यूज कोजेंस एंड GPL. This same question is explained through the ICJ judgment of Belgium versus Senegal. Prohibition of torture is ह्यूज कोजेंस and is a GPL, but all ह्यूज कोजेंस are not GPL because they do not have the locus standi to become a GPL as they are not achieved the sense of finality. ठीक है, that answers the question. जब तक finality नहीं आएगी तब तक GPL नहीं बनेगा, right? Now the next concept which we'll read about in the class is the state recognition. Also guys, I am sorry that I was not able to have continuous classes. I was unwell, but still we will cover the course soon enough, and till then, like, share and subscribe. I hope you had great days.